Now, he still had some, unresolved feelings about Vietnam. And we'll go to the book. Applying his comment, there's a speaker. At one meeting, a speaker commented that when recovering alcoholics are troubled by a situation, the source of the trouble is usually internal rather than external. So that's what one of his people at one of his meetings say. Applying his comment to my Vietnam experience, I realized the Vietnam War had been over for 10 years. If I were going to come to grips with it, I would have to change because events happening a decade earlier could not change. I think this is very important. You can't change the past. When I looked at it in that way, it became easier for me to accept the fact that I had lived while so many of my comrades had died, and even eventually to take pride rather than feel guilty about having survived. I also came to see that while the Vietnam War was a tragic mistake and never should have been fought, my role in it had been as honorable as circumstances would permit. I had not performed perhaps as well as my father might have, but I had done the best I could, and it was time to move on to new challenges. I had finally discovered that a war that had ended for most Americans 10 years earlier could continue to be waged in my head only as long as I would allow it. The next time I saw Karen at a meeting, I told her that I was thinking about writing an autobiography in which I would surrender the Vietnam War. She looked quizzical, and I did not pursue the conversation. But I saw myself like some of the Japanese soldiers who remained hiding on deserted islands for years after World War II had ended. If I could now summon the courage to forgive my government, to forgive those whose views and actions concerning the war differed from mine, and to forgive myself, I could perhaps move into the present and attain a degree of serenity and find the reason for which I had been spared, first in Vietnam and then a second time from an alcoholic death.